Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello, Randall Robbins. This is Daniel from the interlocal gaming event hosted by Michael Henderson in Circle C, as well as Starbucks, Round Rock, HEB, Terra Vista area. Just want to remind you, um, I did promise that I would write you something about Iceland, and just like trying to write it down didn't happen. And I thought I would like put you know, visuals with the post. So I guess I will talk and you have the visuals going in front of you. I'll just talk through each visual. This one is 3 of my children playing in the snow. That was in the backyard of the house that we rented through Airbnb. 1 bedroom, fully stocked, no exaggeration. I'm talking about, you know, down pillows and blankets, brand new, not the owners, right? Um, Fully stocked with like every kitchen appliance, as well as actual food, as well as coffee, cappuccino, frozen fish. Man, the frozen fish in Iceland is better than fresh fish in other places. And that place was across the street from a park. The picture on now is a river going through snowbanks, same as this picture. That river is actually from like underground water, I guess volcanic water comes out hot. This picture is of an apartment building. This is the view, front view of the apartment that we stayed in. Birds eating in the snow. Interestingly, we saw an older gentleman from the apartment building that we were staying in kind of creating a depression, a square depression in the snow of the backyard where we had been playing. We were like, what is he doing? What is he doing, you know? And then he actually put the seed there, and there were crows and even ravens. And a raven to me is like a black chicken that can fly. It's a large bodied bird and it can fly. I mean, I was almost like pursued by one publicly at one of the castles in London, wherever they keep them. There's some kind of royal bird, like I guess that House Stark, right? One of the royalty of House Stark was like involved with ravens in Game of Thrones. The picture that you're seeing now is from a bus. We took a tour. You know, Icelanders are really cool. We also went at a good time. I booked everything before I went, including this Golden Triangle tour where you see the Gullfoss waterfalls of pictures of which you can see in this slideshow. And then we also went to the place where the earth is splitting, like a tectonic rift area. And there was a third location. Of course, there were like rest stops and stuff. We also went swimming. There's a picture where at the bottom you see 2 people's heads in the water. This was a thermal pool, not Blue Lagoon. There's something called Blue Lagoon that's not natural water, I've read. It's the biggest touristy joint, but it's like water runoff from a factory. And the bigger touristy things, you know, who knows who you'll be around. Anyways, we booked this bus tour, and somehow I got the day mixed up. So we went to see Star Wars 3D the day that we were supposed to take the bus. And then we went to the bus tour bus station, like a normal bus station, but the bus tour bus also meets you there. And we were just sitting there waiting, all happy, ready to go. And I was standing outside, and there was this nice Italian couple with a very young child, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we went to the Aurora Borealis, and you drive way out. It's like 2 or 3 hour drive out, maybe 2 or 3 hour drive back at night, and maybe you go outside for 30 minutes, maybe you don't see that much." So I was like, "Well, I'm kind of glad we didn't do that, you know." So that's kind of like what's up with the Aurora Borealis, which is a major Iceland attraction. And it's also very interesting to know how that's created. From what I have watched, the solar wind, which are particles being, almost blasted from the sun, meet our Earth's magnetic field. And the field kind of deflects them, but it kind of whips them around. So if you imagine the Earth moving as it does in its orbit of the sun, when it encounters these particles, the solar, the magnetic field kind of catches them and runs them back. So it kind of catches the energy and runs them back, like, we see magnetic levitation. This magnetic field just moves the particles back. It doesn't just like bounce them away. But at the end, like as they have passed through the point of the magnetic field that they meet and push their way back, the energy kind of adds up. So the magnetic field is something which kind of has tails as it flows behind the Earth. Well, those tails occasionally get closed, and the energy from these solar wind particles kind of flashes across. Like when the tails of the magnetic field close, there's like a kind of effect of like, this energy, and that's what causes those lights. I mean, they can react with gases and stuff like that. Um, anyway, the other thing, but so when that couple's like, "Oh, this is gonna be nice. You have a young kid. You have young kids. We have a young kid." Man, I was waiting there the wrong day, dude. So showed it to the tour bus. They're like, "No, you're tomorrow, or you were yesterday." But somehow when we called them, they were like, "We have a bus tomorrow going that has 6 openings, so you can take it. No change fee or anything." Real cool. We saw the waterfall. Great tour guide named Friedrich Brecken, and he just kind of was like an encyclopedia of Iceland. He was explaining that wherever they have a geothermal pool or spring, they make a school because they will have the energy to run it. And these schools have swimming pools, and I suppose they're heated. Um, there are even greenhouses in Iceland where they successfully grow bananas. The university grows them in their agriculture department and gives them away for free. We didn't get any, but he said they're really good. Um, Most profound experience in Iceland was meeting Icelandic gangsters, right? There was some guys I met in the downstairs of my building, and there was also instead of there being 2 rooms, there was 1 room and a basement, and the basement was where the washing machines were, and you just hang your clothes to dry for like 2 days. So I just knocked on the door. The neighbors probably, who knows, to ask for something, and said hi. So we just started talking, and I noticed these dudes had like these area code looking tattoos. So I said, "Are y'all like Icelandic gangsters?" They were like, "Yeah," you know, and that's how it is, man. Like they got that stuff going on. They told me a lot of different things, man. I was asking, hey, is it really true, as you read in all the little tourist websites and stuff about Iceland, that 60% of Icelanders believe in elves? They said that we have something called folk, which we do believe in, and maybe you translate it as elves, and they're not talking about Keebler. They're more talking about something which Muslims call jinn, like genie, uh, just kind of these beings that can interact with an area. Excuse me for coughing. I'm gonna have a sip of tea. And yeah, they're like Icelanders believe it. So sometimes the government will shut down a project that they announced, a construction project that they announced, and they'll just say, you know, there was something wrong with the area in a very vague way. But what these guys are saying is that actually those beings don't like their areas to be disturbed and they can, you know, make trouble. So that was very interesting for them to clarify that in that way. Somewhere in this slideshow, well, right now there's a picture of grass and there's a picture of me eating, well, picking grass, and I actually ate some. It's the sweetest grass I've ever tasted. I haven't tasted a lot of grass. Most grass doesn't look tasty, but that was a field that we were in across the street from a rest stop, and I actually walked into the field because I needed a place a bit away from any crowd so I could pray. And in that field, there would be kind of 1 square foot roughly sized, or you know, let's say 1 foot in diameter sized spaces where steam would be coming out from like underground. So it was just kind of like, you know, these spots of steam just going off, you know. And the last thing I'll tell you about Iceland is that it's written, and I read that the answer to the question of whether you should drink the water in Iceland, like the tap water, is, well, rather the question was, can you drink the tap water? And I read an answer that was, you should drink the tap water because it's volcanic. And so it's so pure, it's actually better than bottled water that you could buy. So why would you be wasting your time with the bottled water? It does come with gas, a sulfury gas or smell. Rather, I wouldn't say gas, but it has a sulfury smell because it does, in fact, come from underground. But in 6 days in Iceland, I mean, my skin cleared up. Uh, you know, my wife's skin cleared up in just 6 days of that clear, clean air and that clear, clean water, pure water. Um, there's a few pictures in this slideshow where you might see kind of a two-prong steam vents going off in the distance, and that was one of the sources of that's near one of the sources of Iceland's water. That's also how they heat their homes through radiators, because you can turn it so that the water is heated to an even higher temperature. Apparently, it comes out of the ground at 90 Celsius. That is my Iceland report, Randall. So, bro, I hope to go again, inshallah, and I do hope to see you there. So, what either of us should do, what both of us should do, is remember to inform the other if and when we have Iceland travel plans. It would be like a really great place to kind of meet for the third time. Later, bro.